contribution and responsibility. The need to give back to society, the need for a sense of responsibility, the need to contribute back to society. You find some organizations have a lot of green initiatives. They have a lot of things that they do with charities. The CEO may be part of the Rotary. He's a Rotarian. He's involved in a lot of things where it's giving back to society. If you know this, if you know that that's how they are orientated, if that's how they are focused, it's not difficult to find an angle where you use that in your sales pitch. All right? Where you come up with something creative that says, you know, if you purchase this, etc., X dollars is also going to a green initiative. Or X dollars is being put aside for this. If that's what makes them tick, then you figure out the angle accordingly. All right? Contribution and responsibility. Now, when I was growing up, my mom and dad looked after me. They looked after all my needs. And I went off to the U.S. I did very well. I started my hotel career. And my dad ran into financial problems. He wasn't able to support me at all, so I had to support myself. But it was easy to find illegal jobs in the U.S. So supported myself, made myself through university, did well, went into the corporate world, and did very well. Came back home, I found that my dad had lost a company that he had built up for 27 years. And then whatever money he had left, everything that he owned, he pumped into another company, because my dad doesn't like to do things small. And he does things, it's got to be big. So he pumped everything into another company. And this time, he lost everything. And when I say he lost everything, he lost everything. So my two brothers were working with my dad. My sister was working with my dad. I was the youngest in the family. I was the only one not in the family business. So I looked at it and I said, this was my time to take up my responsibility. It's not about love. I love my mom and dad. But it had to do with contribution. I wanted to look after them. So I asked my mom and dad to move into my apartment, because they didn't have a place anymore. My mom took one look at my apartment and said, too small. So I had no choice, and I loved that apartment. It was 5 minutes from Orchard Road. Just, you know, anybody came down, I was, boom, I get at that hotel in 5 minutes. She said, too small. So I went out, looked for a bigger place, found a place that was about 2,500 square feet, brought my mom and dad over. I said, will this do? And they looked at it, they said, this can. So we split up the apartment. I decorated this half the way they wanted and this half the way I wanted. And never the twain shall meet. Okay? And I looked after them. Now, for any of you that live with your parents, if you're at any age, if you're living with your parents, you will know that it is not an easy thing to do. All right? It is not an easy thing to do. No matter how much you love them, it is not an easy thing. Because in your parents' eyes, you are still a child. Okay? Even though it's your home, it's everything else doesn't matter. And my dad's lifestyle was not easy to manage. Just to give you an idea, he was an old-fashioned businessman. He didn't use internet. He used the telephone and fax in this day and age. Picks up the phone, and he's the old-fashioned businessman. He talked for an hour, then come to the point. His average phone bill a month was $4,000. Okay? And who has to pay that? Moi. So it was not an easy decision, but we did that. And we looked after my mom and dad until their last days on earth. What motivated me to do it wasn't love. I love them. But was a need, it was a contribution and a need to step up in terms of my responsibility. Now your clients will demonstrate that in a different way. Now, is it his responsibility to oil her cart or her knees? Is it his responsibility? No. When we're talking about contribution and responsibility, we're talking about also in sales, going that extra mile, contributing, being responsible, taking a broader terms element for where your customer is going to feel and appreciate that effort.